I woke up alone. This was quite rare for me. Usually one of my two lovers was with me, and more often than not, both. I loved them both, and was completely devoted to each of them, even though I was not married to either, and neither of them were married. I was married before, but not to them. I wasn't completely against marriage, and in the best of all possible worlds, I wondered what it would be like to have what I thought I had when I was married. Actually, I didn't have what I thought I had. I thought I was living a dream. I was dark-skinned, with a beautiful face, a thin waist, and a big butt, straight teeth, and cool hair. This was my world. Not that dark. Some white people were darker than me, but it was in the features, you know. I trained like a wild animal, and it showed, but more importantly, I had an amazing man who I adored and two little clones of myself. And then I lost it. At least men. He worked for a large and influential law firm. Most people don't realize how big some law firms are. They don't handle cases like celebrity lawsuits and litigation, and most people have no idea how much money flows through such firms. They can and do influence many things. Many people engage in dubious activities. These people do it on a level that is almost impossible to believe unless you see it with your own eyes. If you are that good and have the right connections, they will accept you into their midst. If you send them packing, take their people as an insult, and walk away, they can't do anything. People do this all the time. Some don't. They see fame and fortune, although they are more like mafia bosses of criminal countries. Small ones, but yes. Martin Sobel was one of them. "No, I don't think I will," I told Mr. Sobel. I was sure he didn't hear "no" often. People like him were under the impression that they were moving on a level higher than ordinary people. He didn't even realize it. They never guess. They think money, influence, and power are invulnerable. Usually that's pretty much it. "You know you won't win," he said. "Keep thinking like that," I replied. I stood up, grabbed my bag, and left his office. He really didn't know, but he would soon find out. There are different circles in the world. He knew rich and powerful people, served in the cabinets of two California governors, knew people on the national political scene, and headed a huge law firm. He demonstrated his power the next day at my first divorce hearing. "I am not inclined to grant this request," Judge Thomas said. "I see signs that this issue can be resolved with serious work in counseling sessions. I think this will be in the interests of children and the state." Thomas didn't think we knew that he owed his appointment to the governor, who in turn was a former partner at Sobel, Johnson and Banks, where my husband was the cash flow guy. I had a good lawyer, but I wasn't going to release her at full capacity just yet. We knew it was coming. Well, she knew and warned me. We rehearsed. "Your Honor, my client has no opportunity to reconcile with her husband," she said. "My client would like this issue to be resolved as soon as possible." The judge shook his head. "I scheduled 12 counseling sessions. I'll let Miss Nash choose from a list of reputable marriage counselors. That's it. I had to do this. Sort of. I wasn't ready. Few are ready. When you find out that your husband has been sleeping with his boss for 4 months, it usually comes as a surprise. If you don't have any suspicions, it's always a surprise. I had no doubts about Blake. Why would they be? I was in love, and I had no doubt that he loved me too. Even after Julia Raines, I had no doubts. What became apparent was that we had very different basic philosophies of life. He loved me, but at the same time he did not love me. He thought I wouldn't find out. He was confident that if he became a partner, it would be good for both of us, and Martin Sobel knew that he had a rising star. Sobel also knew who Julia Raines was. He tolerated her because she brought money to the company. She was also completely immoral, and he knew it. Hell, Blake knew her and complained about her to me a million times. She was also sexy as hell as an adult, perfectly dressed, slim, big-breasted, with a hair that was always in place, makeup always perfect, and with that super confidence that she knew who she was and could take what she wanted. Her eyes were dark and mysterious and contained no soul. I don't think Blake had a chance. Now I realized that he always considered me the junior partner in our marriage. He thought he would do all the work, make a lot of money, and gain influence. But he was wrong about everything. It was interesting. I knew exactly what he did at work, how much he earned, and mostly how he spent his money. But he didn't know anything about my life, not because I was closed, but because he never believed that I was doing anything important. This made me angry, but I never made the situation clear to him. He seemed committed to me, and that made the difference. I loved this man with all my heart until I stopped loving him. We agreed to meet after work for dinner. The restaurant was just 1 block from his office. I was shopping in the area, found a seat at the bar, ordered a mimosa, and scrolled through TikTok on my phone, just killing the half hour before our reservation time. The man sat down next to me and talked to me for about 5 minutes, when suddenly I noticed that Julia had entered. I didn't know her well, only chatted with her a little at a party when she was hired about a year ago to head the mergers and acquisitions department at Blake's firm. But I realized who she was after 10 sentences. Not the type of person I want to hang out with. She didn't look at me, but they sat down at the table right behind me. There was another woman with her whom I did not know, but from the conversation that I unwittingly overheard, I realized that she probably occupied a similar position in another department of the same company. They talked about business, and I wasn't particularly interested. I was distracted by the guy who was talking to me, but my ears perked up when I heard the word Nash. "He's just amazing," Julia told her interlocutor. Nash? I always imagined that this was the case. I also thought he was too infatuated with his mysterious wife to be seduced. "Well, yes, he seems to be carried away," said Julia, "but I'm not trying to take him away from her. We're just playing a game. He sleeps with me and I promote him. One day, he says, he plans to bring his sex bomb into it too. Can you imagine?" Her friend laughed. "No. I mean, I can imagine that you or I would want that, but I have a feeling she won't tolerate anything she doesn't like. At all." "Yes, I think so too," Julia answered. "We both know why she has Nash. I can only compete in terms of the forbidden, and by doing things she probably wouldn't do. What the hell? I stopped paying attention to them, to my random drinking companion, and to everything else. Only the pulse was heard in my ears, filling my head with noise, obscuring everything that I considered true. I sat there, plunged into complete despair. But this did not last long. I gathered my strength, although it seemed that the veil would never clear. Long extinguished embers flared up in my heart, first anger, then rage, muffled by sadness. I noticed that the bag was sliding off my shoulder. This brought me back to reality, and I corrected her. I took another sip of my mimosa, stood up, turned around, and poured the rest, about half of it, down Julia's back. This caused a small squeal, and she jumped up and turned around. I saw how it dawned on her who I was. "Do you want to say something, bitch?" I asked. Her mouth opened and closed. There were no sounds. I turned and left. There were still 10 minutes left until our reservation time. I wondered if it would be interesting to see if these two women would stay until Blake arrived, and what they would talk about if they did. My car was brought in, and I saw Blake's Cadillac parked at the traffic light as I turned right at the exit. I hoped he wouldn't notice me. The blue and white 1970 Chevelle SS is hard to miss, but then I realized that Blake wasn't the most attentive guy. I wondered again if they were still there or if they had already left so Julia could change out of her ruined dress. Okay, I'll find out soon. 5 minutes after the appointed time, I received a message. "Where are you?" I had voice input for text, so I used it. "Fuck off." I turned off the phone. Yes, it's petty, but that's how I am. I didn't remember how I got home. I only realized it when I pulled into the garage. Crap. I needed to pull myself together. I went inside, changed my clothes, cleaned myself up, grabbed some snacks, and made myself 4 shots of espresso. I took a quarter bite out of one of my 50 mg gummies and ate it. I grimaced and looked at the packaging. Orange cream, it said. It probably really did resemble some kind of citrus flavor that a person who had never tasted an orange would have come up with. It tasted mostly like grass and sugar. I giggled a little at thinking about such mundane things. I was clearly out of my element. It took Blake about an hour to understand everything and come home. I like to imagine how terrified he felt during this trip. What would really be terrible is if he didn't care. But no, I couldn't imagine this. I heard him come in from the garage and throw the keys into the tray. I was listening to Taylor Swift's Tortured Poets Department, just lost in thought until I heard him open the door. I suspected that this would be the most unpleasant moment of my life. I was not mistaken. He walked in and looked green. "Are you going to puke?" I asked. "Maybe," he replied. "I need to sit down." I took up the entire sofa, so he had to sit in the chair. I arranged everything this way on purpose. The marmalade had a good effect on me. In fact, I felt completely unperturbed. Let's see. He sat there for a couple of minutes. "I can't imagine how you feel right now," he finally said. "I'm very sorry about this." "Yes, well, this happens," I replied. "Is that all you have to say?" he asked. "What can I say?" I asked in response. "There were a lot of things that you had to say. What can I say now? Sorry, but this train has left. I have nothing to tell you. I know that you are angry, that you are hurt and offended. I'm really sorry that I caused this. You're absolutely right. Can I say something?" "You can say words," I said. "The question is whether I will listen to them depending on my mood at the moment. Get used to it, dude. Now it will always be like this. I don't care what you feel anymore. Got it? Act accordingly." He winced. "Okay, I deserve it. Believe it or not, Kavanaugh, I've been wanting to tell you for a long time, but I love you." There was a long pause. I think he was waiting for me to say something. "Do you want me to come over and kick you between your legs?" I asked. He reflexively covered the painful area with his hand, and I almost laughed. But now was not the time for that. "If not, you'd better never mention it again. I don't trust you anymore, and I won't. I'm not that stupid, Blake." "Do you think I'm stupid?" "No, of course not. Everyone knows. In general, no, you're not stupid. But Kay, you understand that you're a little scary. You should understand this, right? I knew I could be intimidating whenever I want, but I was never like that with him. It's all about your appearance. Everyone wants to come up to you, to be close to you, but almost instinctively they understand that you are something else, not from their experience. When we walk down the street, everyone turns around and looks at you, because you are so amazing. You know it, and it affects everything you do. You don't have to do anything, you just are. You have your own beliefs, your own feelings, and you always follow them 100%. I even know why this is because you explained it to me. And I agree. If everyone could be like this, the world would be perfect. But Kay, no one can do that, except you. You always know what is right for you, and you always do it. But I can't do that. I could feel him trying to figure out if I was listening. I do things, and often I don't even know whose interest it is. I think it's part of human nature. We do spontaneous things that seem right only to us. It brings a spark to our lives. Okay, Blake, do you really want to continue this conversation? It will be much more unpleasant for you than for me. Don't think I don't understand what you're talking about. I understand. You're implying that there is no spark in my life. I raised my hand when he tried to object. Maybe not intentionally, but you say it. And then you took passive aggression to the next level. Damn it, dude. I set you a standard that was unattainable for you. Things like basic decency and honesty are beyond your reach, right? No, I. Shut up. I'm not finished yet, I interrupted him sharply. Here's the thing, all it takes is basic honesty and respect. That's the standard, and it's pretty low. Millions of people surpass it every day. Moreover, I do things all the time that I know very well that I shouldn't. These are selfish things, but I do them. I know all my flaws because they hit me in the face every day. I've told lies, Blake, but never to you. Never to anyone I care about. Are you lying to everyone? He looked like he wanted to get angry, but he controlled himself. I'm hopeless. He remembered our agreement about the kick between the legs. Attached to you, Kavanaugh. The day I met you, I realized that I want to be close to you all my life, so that you can be in my life. The problem was that if I told you about my life, about my views, you wouldn't even give me a chance. I thought, if I just stayed with you, one day would you become a girl of easy virtue? I interrupted. You disgust me. So, your brilliant idea was to act out a certain role, make me fall in love with a character from the play, and then say, surprise, it was me, but it wasn't really me. It was just a character, but wasn't I good at creating an illusion? Why do you have to be like that? That's not at all what I meant. I don't care what you meant, I said. I know what you did. Everything is always black and white for you, right? So you want to make this a racist issue, I said, although I understood that this was not so. But I was so angry that I was deliberately looking for a reason for conflict. He sagged in his chair. What? No, I meant that you only see good and evil. Nonsense, I replied. There was nothing good or bad about you opening the door, throwing the keys in the tray, and coming in here. There are millions of things that can be good or bad depending on the circumstances or simply neutral. But what makes your actions bad is that they are done by a person who is a piece of shit. He sighed and pulled at his hair in frustration. Kavanaugh, listen to me. It doesn't matter what you learned, what you were taught, how society raised, you just listen to me. Things could be different. What do you mean? I asked. He rubbed his eyes and took a deep breath. I'm talking about the endless possibilities for relationships between men and women, he began. You know this, but there is a difference between sex and love. You can have one without the other. Do you really think I love Julia? You have to stop talking, I said. Every word you say becomes more and more condescending. You think you're smarter than me. You think that because you have some alternative explanation, you're so smug underneath your charming exterior. There's nothing wrong with having an alternative opinion, but you're no smarter than me. Usually I don't care, I have no desire to prove anything, but I'm smarter than you. Great, he said. This was his tactic. He always reacted like this. I understood all these things when I was 15 years old. You think it never occurred to me because he always underestimated me. Don't tell me about bullying. Your ego is too big to feel fear. It can be charming. I love confident men, so I let you get away with it. I loved you for being who you are. But I've already heard everything you're going to say. I thought about it and came to the conclusion, no. He really didn't know what to say. I saw how it began to dawn on him that he couldn't enlighten me, but he had to try. Do you believe that I love you? He asked. I saw him tense and clench his legs in case he had violated the spirit, if not the letter, of our agreement about the kick in the groin. Oh, I have no doubt, I said. I'm damn attractive. The question is how you treat the people you love. It raises doubts. You also realize that I'm not going back, right? I'll find a million excuses. I'll make them up myself if I love someone. But when I'm done, I don't look back. I know that you have a list of people who have become persona non grata for you, he said. Yes, I kept you close to test them to see if I still hated them. That's not a compliment, he said. I know you think so, and I think that's a compliment. I'm done. You should go get your things from my room, I said, or I'll take mine from yours. One of us will be leaving within the week, Blake. I'll start right now in case you decide to be an even bigger bastard than you already are. That's exactly why I never told you anything, he complained. That's right, I said. You just walked around and lied. Remember my message, Blake. Repeat it to yourself. Are you packing your things? No, I'm not going to. I don't want that, he said. I don't care what you want, I reminded. Great, I'll start getting ready. I went upstairs and looked at my closet. Crap, I didn't want to do this. I was distracted by my new dress. It was conceived as a white satin sundress with a translucent floral cape. I made a decision, took out a clothes case, put my chic dress and a few other things there, packed my suitcase and my favorite backpack, and looked around. He was still sitting there when I came down. Where are you going? He asked. Somewhere nice, I said. Take care of yourself, Blake. I hope not to see you again. I went to the airport, checked into a hotel, and booked a charter. I booked it for a Sunday, and after 2 terrible nights, I was on my way to Funafuti. My father was waiting for me there. I told him everything. Hello, baby. He opened his arms, and I pressed myself against the man who had always been my support, sobbing with grief, and he stroked me. When I stopped shaking and he realized I had calmed down, he lifted my chin to look me in the face. Is everything okay now? I laughed. Yes, Dad. Thank you. It had to happen. You knew it. I heard and felt his low growl. Yes, I know you. It's my weekend. What do you want to do? I'll think about it, I said. My father was a big shot in the military, serving in the 7th Air Force. We collected my luggage and caught a taxi. Have you heard anything from Ben? I asked. He tensed up, as always when talking about my brother. No, he was in Canada the last time he wrote. He's in Mexico now, I said. I called him last night. I thought so. You know, I don't like talking about him, Kay. It hurts me. I sighed. Yes, sorry. I don't love him, Dad, but I still love him. It saddens me that I can't save him, but I still love him. I know, Kitty. You look like your mother. How are the girls? Everything is fine. They are currently in Scotland for 2 weeks with Danielle. They send me photographs and tell me funny Scottish stories. Have you heard the one about my lamb? I laughed. Yes, they were also amazed by the beans for breakfast. Did you tell them? He asked. I sighed. No, but soon you will have to. I always put off what I know I will hate. They love their father, he sighed with me. Do you want me to be with you when you tell them everything? Maybe. This is a good idea. I need my mom. He twirled one of my curls around his finger. I know, Kitty. Me too. Why didn't you marry again? I asked. I don't know, to be honest. I have Sarah, you know, and I love her more than I ever thought I would, but it always seems like I don't know, I don't respect your mother. I understand. Mom would want you to be happy. You're happy, aren't you? I was happier, he said. My girl is sad. My granddaughters will be sad too. This is a problem. I know. We have already scheduled family consultations. No jerk, just me and the girls. You can come too if you want. Maybe I'll come. Do you want me to take a month off? Can you do it? I asked. It'll be difficult, but hey, I'm an important person. Yes, to answer your question, I can. I would really like you to stay with us for a month, anytime you can, I said. We have a kind of housing crisis right now. I have a service apartment, he said, an old house with 7 bedrooms and a lot of old wood. I can be here for a month, and then they send me on a business trip to South Korea for 6 months. You could live here. Think about it. You still haven't said what you want to do this weekend. I want to lie on the beach, hang out with my dad, go dancing, have a drink during the day. Are you ready or too old for this? He laughed. You're actually an easy opponent, Kay. You'll beg for mercy. He was right. Dad has seen everything and been through a lot. We did exactly what he suggested, and I bought the girls tickets to Tuvalu. Bianca and Monica, my little clones, 9 and 7 years old, were always delighted at the opportunity to spend time with their grandfather. When they got off the plane, they ran to hug us. I noticed them looking around. Is Daddy not here? Monica asked. No, I'll tell you everything, I promise, I reassured her. Damn, this is going to be hard. I never saw the point in lying to my children, so when we arrived at Dad's house, I sat them down and told them my sad story. At first, they couldn't believe it and demanded to talk to Blake. I said they could write to him. Will you read this? Asked Bianca. Do you want me to read it? She looked at Monica, who nodded, tears streaming down the little doll's face. Yes. I'm not saying you're lying, Mom. I just need to ask him, okay? She didn't want to look even a little disloyal. It was her way as well as mine. Dad, Mom told us what happened. This is true, he answered immediately. Yes, but that's not the whole story, Bianca. I'm not sure you're old enough to understand everything. She thought for a minute and then wrote, How many years does it take to understand that betraying those who love you is simply wrong, Dad? We don't want to talk to you anymore right now. She threw my phone on the couch and both girls started crying. My father and I hugged each of them, And in the end, I had a very sad little Monica in my arms. Why, Mom? She sobbed. Why did he do this to us? It doesn't make any sense, baby, I replied. People do bad things, hurt those who don't deserve it. What I'm trying to teach you is that good things happen to good people, but that's not always the case. People know what they are doing, they know it is wrong, but they have such internal destructive tendencies. It's toxic, and when it happens, all you can do is move away from that toxicity and find something healthy to replace it. You'll be fine, girls, the grandfather assured them. Your mom and grandpa will take care of everything, I promise. Tears were flowing down his cheeks. I've seen him cry probably no more than a dozen times in my life. We'll have to go back, I said. Mom will have to sort something out. And after that, we'll come back here, okay? It took their mind off their grief. You mean for good? Live here? Monica asked. Would you like this? I asked. Of course, Bianca exclaimed. That would be so cool. We could see you every day, Grandpa, he moaned. I don't think I'll survive this. You'll wear me out, Bianca pushed him. Nope. We are useful to you, old man. You can take us to the beach every day. Maybe you can find us a grandmother. Oh God, it's already starting. This made them giggle, and I felt like the situation had cleared and we could handle it. Dad, who do you know in Washington? I asked him after the girls went to bed. Many, he answered. You'll have to clarify. Well, someone who can make some noise on the legal side, I said. I'll take care of it, he promised. I trusted him. There are different circles, and the army is a separate world. I hated that my father was in the military and let him know it since I was a child, but he had other ideas. Time to use those 20 years of service and 3 stars. We flew out a week later when I found a house for us to rent. Blake kept sending me messages. I read them all, but never responded to a single one. Leaving it to read was quite satisfying. I also texted Ben on the way to the airport. Where are you? In Honduras, he answered almost immediately. It was unusual. Come to Washington. I need my brother, I wrote. Problems? Did something happen to your father? I'm divorcing Blake. I need your help. I'll be there soon, he promised. Are you at home? I told him about our new living conditions, and it seemed to me that everything was settled. Time will show. I had my own social circle. When I woke up, he was already here. I looked out the window, and there was a black Mercedes parked in the driveway. When I pulled back the front curtain, I saw James get out of the car, look around, walk around it, and open the back door. Ben got out, and the car drove off. He stood there for a minute, looking like a bandit in a suit, and then headed towards the door. I opened it and hugged him tightly. He just held me, giving me the opportunity to calm down. I noticed that it smells nice. Hey sis, I'm here, and I won't go anywhere, he smiled at me. Let's go sit down. I wouldn't mind a cup of coffee. Do you have any? I had it, and I really needed it myself. I took him into the kitchen, sat him down at the bar, and we talked while I made coffee. Ben was my brother, 3 years older than me, but we weren't really related. Mom and Dad adopted us both. I don't remember a time when I wasn't with them, but Ben was with them from a very young age. After I explained the situation to him, he asked what I wanted him to do. I don't want to mess around, I said. I don't need a psychologist. I just want to move on. My life rolled back 10 years. I don't want to deal with a lot of legal red tape. I want him to accept that we're getting a divorce, mind his own business, and let me mind my own. What about girls? He asked. It will be their decision. So I take it you don't want him to be extremely unhappy. I don't care at all if his misfortune comes naturally, I said. But I don't want you to be the reason. He didn't do anything violent, Ben. He looked at me with that same questioning expression on his face that he used to have. He made my little sister and my nieces unhappy. Do you think I care that he wasn't violent? Violence isn't just physical, sis. He was emotionally abusive. Well, I want it to be a different kind of violence, I said. One that will make him disappear, but won't land either of us in jail. Do you want to explain it to him yourself? He asked. I didn't want to, but it would probably be better. Yes, I think I should. Will you make sure he listens? Leave it to me, he said. I'll let you know. Have you talked to Dad? I spoke. He deals with legal issues, I said. Hopefully between you two, we can get this judgment off me, and then everything will be fine. You should call him Ben. He sighed. Why do we always talk about this, sis? He hates me. Always hated it. No, he doesn't hate it, I said. He loves you. He just doesn't like what you're doing. I don't like what he's doing, Ben said. Me too, but he's doing legal stuff, I said. So do I, but you don't. He laughed. Most of what I do is legal, or at least not completely illegal. Yes, but it's immoral, I said. Luckily, you're my little sister and not my boss, he said. Please don't start a crusade, Kay. I love you and I wouldn't want to lose you. I gave him his coffee and hugged him from behind. Thank you for loving me. His voice wavered as he said, Thank you for loving me. The difference is that everyone who meets you loves you. You are the only person I have ever known who loves me simply for who I am, even when you don't approve of me. Mom loved, I said, and Dad loves you, even if you don't believe it. He kissed my hand. Don't change, Kavanaugh. Be yourself. I sighed. That's my plan. When will my dolls wake up? He asked. Hey, they're on summer vacation, I said. Do you remember how late we went to bed and how long we slept? They will probably sleep until noon. How long will you stay? As long as you need me, he said. I'm in no hurry. Is it true? No wars to support, no arms dealers to support, I joked. He laughed. My people are wreaking havoc right now. I left it to them. You and the girls are the only ones I can't live without. I am completely at your disposal. I turned the garbage disposal on and off immediately, and he laughed again. Let's wake them up and get them out for breakfast. When they finally woke up and realized that it was their Uncle Ben who had woken them, they instantly went into a frenzied, happy state and swirled around us like little tornadoes, sweeping us out of the doorway and into Haley's for breakfast. They ordered English breakfast and were extremely disappointed that there were no beans. I knew Sobel wouldn't go down without a fight. Our senator was a little famous, mainly for being a tool in the wrong hands, I thought, but I met him twice. God, I've met enough politicians through my dad that I've had to maintain a minimum of politeness. But she still remained hostile, and it was this interaction that became the straw that destroyed the relationship between Ben and Dad. Ben couldn't pretend, and Dad didn't understand that it was okay not to pretend. This led to bitter quarrels and an almost complete break. It seems that I was the only thing that united them. While dealing with my dad, I encountered this guy twice. Despite having a beautiful wife and cute kids, he implied that I might have access to something. Logic wasn't his strong suit, and he never realized that I knew more people here than he did. There are different circles, and some of them overlap. One thing that unites all these circles is the military. There are people who literally idolize the army, and they live in every district of the country. Yes, access, I thought to myself. I never understood this. Why do I need access to him or anything like that? I preferred men who were a little less psychopathic, I mean confident in themselves and in you, but damn it, so that you don't have to wonder who raised them. God, their mothers must have been terrible. It didn't matter which side they stood on. They didn't care about anything except using people like pawns on a chessboard. This is where I argued with Dad. My look was, why are you messing with these people? His view, this is reality. This is the best there is, and there is much worse. I want to keep everything as good as possible. I countered, yes, but being a little less psychopathic and murderous than a bunch of completely psychopathic killers is not being good in any sense. There are a lot of other things that are still disgusting, and you know it. I can't support this. If you know the real gangsters, I mean the really bad guys in the underworld, then you also know those in power. They are the same main bandits, They are just so good at this business that they have legitimized their skills and used them on a global scale. I knew both of them. Real bad guys never showed their dark side unless they needed to teach someone a lesson. They were generally quite normal, had relationships, treated those who were loyal to them well, and were very similar to the politicians who imitated them. To be inside the system is to see how rotten everything is. I never got involved in crime, but I did everything possible without crossing the line. Ben went a little further. He actively fought against all this. He called himself an anarchist. I told him he was addicted to chaos. These are different things. But here I am, again in the center of the intersection of these circles, and I'm not going anywhere. The senator, of course, knew nothing about me, only that I could provide support for many of the important things he was doing. They seemed less than unimportant to me. Of course, he and many others disagreed with me. I could live with it. I received a personal invitation to his office. I went out of curiosity. He was just as I remembered, a little shorter than me, fit for a man his age. "How can I help you, Senator?" I asked. He leaned forward in his chair. "Would you like something to drink?" he asked. "Are we going to be here that long?" 15 minutes, he suggested. "Enough time for a sip. I just want you to feel comfortable." Luring you into a web, Senator? I warn you, I'm not a fly. I'm one of those big, scary creatures you see hunting spiders, sucking them out, and feeding their living bodies to my children. He looked uncomfortable. It was very funny, but not the time for maniacal laughter. Although, maybe it's time. I laughed. He doesn't. "You need to calm down." What a bastard. He just looked at me. "You don't understand. I didn't invite you here to make you angry. I called you to ask for a favor and to offer any favor in return that I can provide. You say what you need and it's yours. I will be in your debt. If you don't think it's important, then you're not as smart as you think." "Oh, we understand each other perfectly, Senator. I'm just saying I don't care. It's your problem. You own it. Don't try to pin it on me. Or try it, I don't care." I saw confusion flash across his face for the first time in all this time. "I know who you are," he said. "Your brother." "Then go and arrest him. I don't want to listen to your bullshit. You know you can't, otherwise you would have done it already. Jesus, dude, do you have any shame at all? Do you really believe your own bullshit? I don't believe it. Farewell, Senator. I don't think we'll meet again." Getting up, I took my phone out of my bag and started recording a TikTok video. He didn't dare say a word. Gee, I thought, getting into the elevator and going down the steps. I called and got a car, giving him the opportunity to track me. Ben burst out laughing when he saw me. "Oh God, you should see your face. How long did you rehearse this?" "For fucking forever," I said. "My whole life. I have a whole packet of such people." "Why are you talking like that?" he asked. "You have the best education of anyone I know." "Because," I said, "you shouldn't be interested. Am I asking you something personal?" "It seems like you just did." I looked at him in horror. "Dude, are you kidding me? I just went through fucking hell there." He snorted. "You are never in a situation where you are not in control. You pull the strings and we dance. Such is the strength of your personality." "What the hell? You're weird. And this is not the way home. Where are you taking me?" I asked. "At Big Al's," he said. "It will be just right for you there. He and you speak the same language. And he has a delicious barbecue. This is exactly why I loved him. Be at your house tomorrow at 6:30 p.m., he said. They say Jesus is coming." I laughed at the joke, but felt a little scared. I always had a little anxiety before a performance, but what can I do? I have to live for the applause. And here my audience is one person. Two, at best, because I didn't want to lower myself in Ben's eyes. Blake sat in a chair, looking unwell. Ben sat across from him on the couch, and I sat next to him. "Hi, Kavanaugh. Was it necessary to take such measures?" asked Blake. "I don't know," I said. "I don't care. I went. Accept it. You shouldn't have touched me, Blake." Just because I haven't shown you my abilities doesn't mean I don't have them. What were you thinking when you decided to contact me? I never decided anything, he said. I told you I don't want this. You are the light of my life, Kavanaugh. Dude, you walked around the room with a hammer, breaking all the light bulbs, and now you want to talk nonsense. I don't care what you think, Blake. I'm doing what I'm going to do, and I don't care about you. I will only talk to you when I want to. I don't want to hear about any senator, lawyer, or anyone else. I have my own lawyer. Let yours connect with mine. I'll pay you cash for half of what I want to keep. You can take the rest, or I'll get rid of it. I will not interfere with your meetings with girls. If they want to see you, I will organize it myself. This is how it will be, Blake. Don't contact me again. Will you at least listen to me? He asked. I sighed. I know what you're going to say. I don't want to hear it. Kay. His voice shook as I nodded at Ben. You can't call me that, I said. I, I'm nothing without you, he said, sobbing. Ever since I met you, my whole life has been about you. I know that you don't believe it, you can't see it, but I have always loved and needed you, always, and I have never felt differently, not even for a minute. It's just, you don't understand it, it doesn't matter anymore. People are free, we should not live according to other people's expectations. What I feel for you is real, it's just different. You just caused a nuclear explosion and destroyed the world. Ah, now it's clear. You loved and needed me when you were busy having sex with your bitch, right? I'm telling you, it was a moment. How to stop by McDonald's to get French fries. I would bring it home to share with you. Ugh, what are you doing, dude? You say this, but I say something else. And what I say is the only thing that matters. Forget about me, Blake. I'm already forgetting about you. I want what I thought I had, not you. I think I'll find it. I didn't know what would happen next. Life is full of twists and turns. Ironically, it was Sobel who created the problems. Not divorced, this was all in the process. He became obsessed with me. It seemed like no one had ever spoken to him the way I did. This senator began promoting the creation of a commission to investigate the gun trade. He tried to get a special prosecutor appointed, and Martin Sobel was the candidate for the position. They are all like relatives. Of course, they were hunting for Ben, who had long since disappeared. The wheels of justice turned slowly. Mom, we're leaving. Bianca looked into my room. Wow, you look gorgeous. Do you have a date? I laughed. Sylvia persuaded me to do a photo shoot. The designer gave me a dress for the shoot. Do you like it? I twirled in front of her. Where will the filming take place? She asked. In one of the stores where they sell her things, I answered. I'll probably be back late. Hey, we told you we were staying at Stephanie's for the night. I hit myself on the forehead. Exactly, I completely forgot. Monica looked into the room, and I went over to hug them. They are so tall, 5 years, and this is the result. I love my girls, I said. They kissed me and left. They drive a car. Next time they will want to vote. The driver picked us up, and we walked a block to the store. We looked great. There were a lot of people on the sidewalk, and everyone looked at me as I walked. Sylvia walked 20 steps behind, so that eyes could easily switch to her. The cameras watching us created a real stir. We wandered around the store and were very impressed. It was fun for the first half hour, but then things got hectic as they tried to turn us into real quick change artists. It got boring quickly. I remembered why I quit modeling. A Dior representative was present at the shoot, and they tried to arrange a meeting. I politely refused, but I received all the clothes I wore, and among them there were several outfits that I would definitely wear again, although some of them were tasteless and strange. I chose one of these tacky and weird outfits for my meeting with Sobel to set the tone. He came to my office again, just like the last 5 times. My assistant walked him out, and I offered him a drink. He agreed and looked like he was preparing for a long conversation. I see that my research team was insufficiently competent for the task, he began. What is it? I asked. They didn't make a connection between you and your father. You have different surnames. I was adopted, I said. Now I know it. They also didn't tell me you were a lawyer. What are you doing? I specialize in First Amendment cases, I said. He laughed. This is to be expected. Something unusual happened to me last week. Oh, really? I assume you're going to tell me about this? I asked. He grinned. The senator called me. And what's wrong with him? I asked. He laughed again. I guess this is a common thing for you, but for me, it's not every day that I get a call from an angry senator. I smiled. Found a hair in the soup, I teased him. He discovered that a certain Kavanaugh Marks had visited his office, and later, at a meeting of the Armed Services Committee, he learned that 3 military bases in his state could be closed. I think he would prefer to find hair. Without a doubt, I agreed. And why do you think this should interest me? He chuckled again. Nothing seems to unsettle you, does it? I was a little freaked out when I found out that my husband was sleeping with his boss, I said. How could you be so naive? He asked. I think we've already established that it was you who was naive, not me, I remarked. He laughed. Yes, but your naivety just shows up in a different area. I sighed. Why does everyone think that I am interested in their opinion of my character? I don't care at all if you don't know. I'm especially not interested in your opinion. I'm not a bad person once you get to know me, he said. I've been married to the same woman longer than you've been alive, and neither she nor I have ever cheated on each other. Maybe you want to give me an assessment of my character? I would be very interested. No. I'm not used to repeating myself, Mr. Sobel. He looked at me, slightly confused, and then said, You are absolutely amazing. Many people underestimate you, don't they? Judged by appearance. They see that you are such a bitch, and they envy you, but they never understand what you really are. You don't let them in, but those who really know, you are terribly afraid of disappointing you. Okay, you think you understand me. Don't think that I didn't understand you, I said. You think that by using catchphrases and swearing you will show me that you are just like me. But you're not like that, Mr. Sobel, and we both know it, so stop stalling. Tell me why you came, or leave. He sighed. Do you hate me? No. You bore me, I said. You don't mean enough to me for me to hate you. I don't like that you're boring. Although I admit, sometimes I wonder what makes people like you continue to live. It would be interesting from a dark point of view, probably. He looked hurt for a moment. I don't have to justify myself to you, he said. No, I shouldn't. But I don't have to make excuses for you either. Yes, you're right. He looked around my office. Your office is very nice. It is, I confirmed. This is also my home while I am in the S. I feel comfortable here and I like the environment. And your office looked like it was designed by a 167-year-old white man. He laughed. I'm 73. Why are you still doing this? I asked. He hesitated for a moment. What else to do? How many other things make it possible to meet and be insulted by someone like you? Yes, you're right. I couldn't restrain myself, I said. He grinned. Oh, I understand that. I was one of those who underestimated you. You've been in complete power all this time, and I still couldn't get close to what I came for. You see, you can think, I said. He shrugged and smiled. Yes, I can. I almost forgot what it was like to be completely unprepared. Is it true? Imagine my surprise when I found myself in your place. Only this was someone you have to be vulnerable with because he says he loves you. Yes, this is. There was silence. You are completely different from me, Mr. Sobel. My life is built on relationships. I don't understand your life. Seriously, it seems to me that you must be unhappy. How can you not be? You're just an incredibly shady person. I see you. You see me, but I will never be you, and you will never be me. No, but you have a blind spot, he said. You don't understand how much you're leaving affected Blake. I'm trying to take care of someone who has been loyal to me. What nonsense, dude. How do you not understand that any loyalty you receive is bought and paid for? Are you trying to sell me this? A dude who wasn't faithful to a woman who was faithful to him is now miserable without her, and you believe he's faithful to you? He doesn't care about you. Are you stupid? He laughed. Here you are again at your own pace. God, you are brilliant. I'd offer you a job, but you'd tell me to go to hell, wouldn't you? Are you finished? I asked. I don't want this to end, he said. God, stop it already. Do you believe that you can have sex with someone you don't love? He asked. I believe it is possible for some people, I replied. For me, sex is mental. I have to at least see the possibility of falling in love with a person in order to even think about sleeping with him. If I'm not in the mood, I won't even get excited. Oh, I understand, he said. I feel the same way. Society raised us this way. Oh, please, I interrupted him. Spare me these platitudes. Have I already told you that you're boring me? He smiled. Yes, and soon I won't bore you anymore. People like Blake, Julia Raines, millions of others, they don't think like us. Listen, man, I don't care. People can do what they want. I'm free to do what I want. You will fuss, try to offer me some kind of deal, which, as you already know, I will never accept. I'll insult you a little more and you'll leave. Yes, I see that it will happen, he said. I won't try. Kavanaugh, I wish I could get to know you better. You are an incredibly interesting young woman. My wife would love you. But you don't want anything to do with me, right? Hey, you're smarter than I thought, I told him. I guide myself. I got up. Goodbye, Felicia, I said. After he left, I sat for a minute, wondering what else I could say, but overall I felt content. There was a knock on the window. It was Rick, my starling. He wanted to come over. Hey, buddy, I greeted him, opening the window. He flew onto the back of my chair, making dinosaur-like noises, then clicking and popping before moving to my shoulder as I sat down. He loved to cuddle and chirped quietly, expressing contentment. He knew how to speak, but he was rarely in the mood for it. He settled on my shoulder as we went out into the garden. What is this? He said. It turned out to be the guy who was on top of the power pole behind the garden wall. I walked up to the wall, and Rick flew off about his business. Interesting work, I said. He looked down and smiled at me. Damn, this guy was seriously hot. Well, for white. Hello? Not as interesting as it seems. There's a problem with the light. Yes, I noticed. I called about this. Sorry you had to fix this, but I've always wanted to try these cool lifting things. The lamp lights up, stays on for about 5 minutes, and then goes out. I have already replaced it. As soon as I connect the wires, everything will be fine. Cool, I said. I watched as he connected one wire, and then when he connected the second, sparks suddenly started flying. He screamed and began to quickly walk down the pole until he fell to the ground, tearing his shirt. A piece of metal fell out of his shirt, and he was visibly nervous while I stood there shocked. Well, yes, a bad joke, but still. Are you okay? I asked. Damn, that was hot. I have a burn on my stomach, but nothing serious. I took him by the hand and quickly led him into the house. Take off your shirt, let me look, I ordered. There was a large red burn on the left side of his stomach. Wait here, I said. I went to the bathroom and took out the lidocaine spray. I applied it to the burn and applied a non-stick bandage. I noticed that he had some serious muscles under his shirt and his abs were incredibly well defined. Thank you, he said. It was unpleasant. I laughed. I can imagine. I am Kavanaugh Marks. I extended my hand to him. He shook it, and I realized how big this man was. He towered over me, almost 6 feet tall, like a tree. Oh, God, he seemed excited. Kavanaugh, is it you? I can't believe it. Oh, God, you don't remember me, do you? Well, I know a lot of people and have met a lot of people that I don't remember, so it's not a big deal, but no, I don't remember. Wilson Lee, he said, thank you for helping me. Why do you have a starling in your house? He lives here, I said. This is Rick. We are friends. He laughed. Your pet is unusual, and your name is unusual." "He's not really a pet," I said. "We are friends, and he has been living with me since I found him under a tree that had fallen from his nest about 5 years ago. He's free. He flies wherever he wants, but spends most of his time with me. He can talk when he's in the mood." "I didn't know starlings could talk," he said. "I thought they were just pests." "They can be like that. He does the same when he steals jewelry, money, or food." "I can only imagine," he said. "Thank you for taking care of me." I noticed how deep his voice was and felt a slight something. "I need to finish the lamp," he said. "She won't fix herself." "No, it won't fix it," I agreed. "Do you work for the city?" "No, I have a contract with them," he replied. Wilson, Mr. Lee, whichever is more convenient for you. How do you know me?" "Oh, that's right. We were in the same class from first to fourth grade. You moved away, and I never saw you again. We sat across the aisle from each other in fourth grade." "Oh God, Wilson, now I remember. We were so little, and you were a real basketball star." "Yes, we moved to Japan. God, man, this is amazing." He smiled that stupid smile that was terribly attractive, and I couldn't help but laugh. "Yes, exactly," he said. "I never forgot your name, and to be honest, I never forgot you either. I don't think anyone in our class has forgotten you." "Oh, don't embarrass me," I said. "I didn't remember you until you reminded me. I've been to about 20 schools, Wilson. Everything just became blurry after a certain point. But yes, things come up sometimes." "I can imagine," he said. "I went to the same school all my life and don't remember much. It was quite important at the time, but not now. But I remember you. It's a long way from North Edwards to Washington, Wilson." "Is it true? That's why I was so surprised. How did you end up here, Kavanaugh?" "Oh, well, it's a long story, Wilson. Do you have time? I'm not sure what I have." He smiled sadly again, and it did something to me. "How about you come over to my place for dinner, and we can compare notes," I suggested. Um, your husband won't feel uncomfortable about this." "I think I would if I even had a husband," I said. "What about you? Is there anyone who would be disappointed if you had dinner with me?" "I'm not in an exclusive relationship with anyone," he replied. "I'm dating, but no. Although I think all the men on the East Coast will be disappointed that they are not the ones having dinner with you. But I'll have dinner with you. Should I bring you something?" "No, I will prepare everything," I assured him. "How hungry will you be?" "I don't know," he said. "I'm still in shock from this. I'll probably forget to eat at least a piece. I'm good in the kitchen. So fix my light, go home, clean up, grab one of those bags of Caesar salad, and we'll be fine. Help me cook." "Well, I'm bad at cooking, but I can follow directions," he said. We agreed on a time, and he came out, climbed up the pole, and fixed my lantern. I still wanted to try these climbing things. Maybe if I feed him well, he'll let me try them. I finished my business, and the girls returned home. I told them we would have a guest for dinner. "Is this a man?" asked Bianca. "Is this a date?" Monica asked. "Yes, this is a man, but this is not a date. And you, two terrorists, better not start anything," I told them. Monica clutched her chest. "I can't believe you said that." "PFFT. Anyway, put on normal clothes when you come down," I warned them. "Clothes, not these rags you call clothes." They left after making fun of me for half an hour, and I washed myself and started cooking. In fact, I loved it, just not always. Alicia, my friend's daughter, cooked for us 3 times a week. I checked the refrigerator and pantry. I had pork tenderloin and potatoes, and the bag contained corn on the cob. Will do. I cut the tenderloin into thick cutlets, seasoned the flour, and at that moment the doorbell rang. It was Wilson. He had 2 bags of salad, the ones already with dressing, and I led him into the kitchen. I sat him down at the bar and made him peel potatoes. He liked it. I seasoned the flour, heated the oil in a cast iron skillet, dredged the cutlets in flour, and began frying them. Wilson cut the potatoes into cubes and I let them cook while he found a bowl, mixed up the salad, and put it in the refrigerator. I took out a bottle of wine to let it breathe and made the sauce in the same pan where I fried the cutlets while he whipped the potatoes. We talked continuously, and it seemed as if no time had passed since fourth grade. He was very easy to talk to and said several things that made me laugh. The girls came into the kitchen, and after I introduced Wilson to them and told them how we knew each other, we made them set the table. I seated Wilson next to me on the right. We began to eat, and the interrogation began. The girls immediately attacked him. I didn't say a word. It quickly became clear that Wilson absolutely loved it. He gave them deliberately provocative answers, and they began to get angry. Monica noticed that Wilson and I looked at each other. She nudged Bianca with her elbow. "You're leading us by the nose, aren't you?" she asked him. His deep laugh was deep and deep. "Yes, I'm sorry, but you have to admit that you deserve it." Bianca looked at him with admiration. "You have style, man," she admitted. "Perhaps you will have my approval." "Let me tell you something, girls. Your mother was the same girl that she is now as a woman. She moved to our school about halfway through first grade. I thought she was the most beautiful person I had ever seen. Remember, I was in first grade and thought girls were weird. But not her. She was perfect. I wasn't the only kid in our class who thought that way." "We saw the pictures," Monica said. "You don't need photographs," he told them. "All you have to do is look in the mirror. You look exactly like her, only a little older than when she moved to Japan." Monica rolled her eyes. "Style? Yes, exactly that," she said. Seriously, every girl wanted to be her friend, hoping that something of what she had would rub off on them, and every boy was afraid to talk to her. Except for one thing. It was time to stop this. "I'm sure we don't need to hear this story you're going to make up," I said. "We're still waiting to find out how a kid from a small California town ended up in Washington." "Oh no," he said. "I'm sure you want to hear about Eddie Penny, don't you?" "Yes, especially because Mom doesn't want you to tell us," Bianca said. "No, I don't want him to tell," I said. "It's full of lies. I remember Eddie. He was a bully. He did a lot of nasty things to other children, but he tried to suck up to me. He tried to hold my hand on the playground, and I hit him in the face. He fell into a puddle and had to wear the ridiculous clothes the nurse found for him for the rest of the day. He never recovered." They all looked at me with wide eyes and giggled. "Mom is tough," Monica said. "But if she loves, then for real." "I often wondered where she was," he said. "What she did, what she looked like. In my wildest dreams, I met her again, and I feel like we should all go buy me lottery tickets because here we are." The girls looked at me, a little stunned. Bianca cleared her throat. "Well, you're either a creepy stalker or the most romantic person on the planet. Let's check." "Wait, what? You're full of crap, Wilson." "We'll see," he said. "Where is the nearest place to buy lottery tickets?" I laughed, but he was serious. We cleared everything off the table and all went out to his truck to look for the store. He had a very cool car. It was big, but not the kind you buy to compensate for shortcomings. Just a big truck. But he was great. Absolutely clean, extended cab, and obviously diesel. We loaded into the truck and drove off. When he started the engine, the truck automatically synced with his phone, and the music started playing. He was listening to Dinosaur Pile Up, and we all rocked out to Back Foot until we got to the nearest store. We picked out our lottery tickets, he bought the girls a Dr. Pepper Slurpee, and we returned home. The girls immediately ran off to do their own thing, and Wilson and I were left alone. It was strange and comfortable at the same time. We chatted about how our lives had been since primary school. He talked about an unsuccessful breakup with a girl with whom he was thinking of starting a family. It turned out that he had some money left over from his grandmother, and he had the opportunity to buy a business in his area. Now, he says, he earns very decent money. I told him about life in a military family, how I managed to get out of high school, get a bachelor's degree from the University of Maryland and a law degree from Georgetown, about how I started my legal practice. The girls and I live in Tuvalu and come to the States mainly on business. Tuvalu? I've never heard of it, he said. Oceania, I explained. This is an island. More precisely, several islands. Is this a city or a country? He asked. Country, I answered. How often do you come back here? He asked. We don't travel back and forth too often, I said. We come for a couple of months, then we return home. I have to come here from time to time because I have a business here, and we also have a house. And how long do you plan to stay this time? He asked. A few more weeks, maybe a month. And if I ask you on a date, will you have time for it? He asked. I thought this was a date, I told him. Are you kidding me, Wilson? His face showed horror for a moment, but he quickly pulled himself together. What? No, I meant another date. I'll come up with something fun. Wilson, didn't you like it? I asked. I thought it was fun. Oh God, of course I loved it. I just didn't know what to say. Yes, I had a great time. 3 times more fun because Monica and Bianca are exactly like you. You are a real find for some lucky guy. Oh, that was very nice of you, Wilson. I have an idea. What if we do this again on Friday? Only this time we'll get out the board games and have a party. How do you like it? This is exactly what I want. Yes, hell yes. I have a new game. It has a lot of rules and is quite long. Do you like these? I took his hand and led him to our collection of board games. Oh God, I have a bunch of the same ones. When I walked him to the door, he stopped on the threshold and turned to me. Kavanaugh, I thought I'd never see you again, he said. My brain still can't process it. I'm so glad I took this order myself and didn't send one of my guys. This is an incredible coincidence or something more. Spiritual bullshit? I asked. He laughed. God, I love the way you react to everything. It's like you're making fun of me, but at the same time you're being serious. Smart boy, I said. Go and conquer the world. He suddenly grabbed me and hugged me tightly. I didn't mind. Moreover, I suddenly realized that I would not refuse if he kissed me. I made him embrace what I wanted and left him breathless. At the end, I blew him a kiss. Call me, I said. It was as if he had woken up from a trance. Yes, of course, I'll call. Good night, Kavanaugh. About 10 minutes after he left, I realized that neither of us had contact with each other. Crap. The next morning, I received a text from him with a cute meme. How did you get my number? I asked. With a repair invoice, he replied. You didn't want me to have it. I laughed. No, I wanted you to have it. And yesterday I was angry with myself all night for not giving it to you. Wilson, you're like the FBI. To this, he sent me a bunch of emoticons. If you want me to respond quickly, write to me on Snapchat, I sent. I sent him my nickname, and after some time, he sent me a request. We added each other, and he wrote, Sorry, had to download the app. I sent him a few emojis and went on with my day. After work, Julie suggested meeting at a bar. She wanted to go to a new club that was considered a trendy place, and it was easy for me to get us there without waiting in line. We had a lot of fun, danced until we dropped, and I was already pretty tipsy. I went to the ladies' room, and on the way back I stopped, leaning against a column. I waited all night to introduce myself. The voice was barely audible, but I caught it. I turned around and saw her. I didn't know who she was, but I knew for sure that she was the one. She batted her long eyelashes. Is this love? She asked. I laughed. Meme, you need to work on your style, baby. She pouted. How old are you? I asked. Enough, she replied. I'm 22. Well, you're a beautiful baby, I said. I'm sure this world will be yours if you want it. I don't need it if you aren't in it, she said. My God, are you flirting with me, beauty? Yes, she answered, stepping closer to me, almost equal in height to me. Do I have a chance? What is your name? I asked. My name is Anak, she replied. I'm from South Sudan. Let's go introduce you to my friend, I suggested. Won't she be jealous? Anak asked. I laughed, and she blinded me with her smile. We're not that kind of friends, I said. Perhaps she already has someone with her. Will I be with you? She asked. We'll see, I said. At least you get to spend this evening with me. She hugged me around the waist, and my arms somehow naturally wrapped around her slender shoulders. Julie wasn't at the table when we got back there. Anak sat next to me and leaned towards me. I just want to look at you for a minute, I said. Me too, she replied. God, she was so beautiful. Very dark skin, slender, almost thin, but this face. A wide forehead, exotic almond-shaped eyes, slightly raised to the outer corners, widely spaced, a cute little nose, full lips, high cheekbones, and a pointed chin. She looked like a doll. Well, she asked after a minute of silent inspection. Oh, baby, you don't need me to tell you this, I said, but you're perfect. Say you're a model. She smiled, and her face lit up like fire. I'm a model, she replied. You see, Kavanaugh knows what's what. So your name is Kavanaugh, she asked. I like it. This name suits you very well. Anak is pretty cool too, I said. You look like Anak. Have you met many? She asked. I laughed. She was simply charming. Only you for now, I said. Is this a common name in South Sudan? I know several girls with that name, she replied. Julie returned to the table and I introduced them. Oh, God, you are so beautiful, she said. Baby, how old are you? Anak laughed, and her laughter was like crystal bells. I'm 22, she said. According to Kavanaugh, I'm still just a baby. Kavanaugh is right, Julie said. What brings you here? Do you mean this city or this club? Do you want to know, Kavanaugh? I just want to watch you talk, I replied. And it's true I couldn't take my eyes off her. She was probably the most beautiful person I've ever met. Anak looked at me from under her long eyelashes. I work here, she said. I was lucky enough to escape from Sudan to London. They noticed me there, invited me to shoot a magazine, and then sent me to the States. After Washington, I'm going to New York. We came to this club with another model from a photo shoot, and then I saw you, Kavanaugh. Do you prefer girls, dear? Asked Julie. Because if so, I understand you. I think I'll understand you even if you don't, she laughed. I'm here with her, after all. No, I don't prefer girls, Anak replied. I don't like labels. Kavanaugh is beautiful, but that's not the main thing. I just felt something special. Okay, you too, enough compliments. Can I get you something to drink? I'm going to the bar. They both wanted a drink, and after we finished our cocktails, some guy asked Julie to dance, leaving me with Anak. Do you want to dance? She asked. Want. Are you a good dancer? I asked in response. I did a lot of dancing, she said. Me too, I replied. When I was little, I dreamed of becoming a ballerina, but when it became clear that I would grow into a giraffe, the dreams disappeared. She laughed. Yes, I understand how you feel. There are a lot of tall women in my country, but yes, it was a challenge. I stood up and offered her my hand. She turned out to be an excellent dancer, flexible, like a willow twig, incredibly flexible and light, like a feather. We literally lit up the whole club, dancing until we were exhausted. Julie soon joined us on the dance floor, but soon left with the guy she was dancing with. Where are you staying? I asked Anak. At the Four Seasons, she replied. The agency rented an entire floor there for us. Wow, Anak is running around with big dogs. She smiled. That's my plan. Do you want to come to my room? I was thinking more about taking you out to brunch and then going to my house, I suggested. How do you like this option? I'm starving, she replied. I always die of hunger. Stay with me, baby, I said. In a month, I'll make you a plus-size model. She laughed, and again I was amazed by her grace and beauty. Well, is there any good money in plus-size modeling? she asked. I hope so, because I'm not going to leave you. By the way, how do you manage to stay in such shape? We got into my car and Anok almost squealed with delight when she saw her. Oh my God, I should have guessed. I laughed. What can I say? I love old cars. You don't need to explain, she said. I love them too, especially this one. What model is this? This is a 1970 Chevrolet Chevelle Super Sport LS6 454, I said. Is she fast? She asked. Yes, but not like modern cars. For its time, yes, very fast. Do you want to check? I suggested. Want, can. Certainly. I opened the door for her, and she gave me a look that could have melted steel. Thank you, she said. Fast is putting it mildly. The car roared off, and Anok grabbed my hand, laughing like crazy. We pushed hard the first time, and then I started going by the rules. There was no desire to attract the attention of the police. I took her to postscript at the Madison Hotel, where we ordered huge breakfasts. Eggs, hash browns, bacon, everything you could want, and washed it all down with a whole pot of average coffee. By 3 o'clock in the morning, we stopped at her hotel. She took her things needed for the morning, and we went to my home. On the way, I warned her that the girls were already sleeping, so there was no point in making noise. Are they a light sleeper? She asked. I laughed. No, not at all. Most likely, only an explosion will wake them up. They also have white noise machines. Besides, they're on the second floor, I pointed up. So, just in case. Anok placed a long, thin finger against her plump lips in a gesture of silence. God, she was so delicious and cheerful. Baby, are you going to sleep with me or in your room? I asked. She looked at me thoughtfully. Can I come with you? I couldn't resist and took her into my arms. It seemed almost weightless, but at the same time it seemed to radiate vibrations, as if an electric current was flowing through it. Yes, of course you can, but I don't have any expectations, Anok, I said. She looked at me out of the corner of her eye, her huge, sparkling eyes flashing in the dim light. I would really like that, she whispered. We went to my bedroom, and she started unpacking her bag. I was brushing my teeth when she came up to me. She was wearing golden silk pajamas, and she looked absolutely stunning in them. We brushed our teeth together, took off our makeup, and then I asked her if she wanted to take a shower with me. She nodded shyly. I watched as my hand reached up and undid the first button of her pajamas. Anna kept her eyes on me as I unbuttoned the rest of the buttons. I gently pulled her pajama top off her shoulders. Her skin felt incredibly smooth, warm, and soft to the touch. My breath hitched as I took off her clothes and carefully hung them on the hook. Let me look at you, I whispered. Nuo, I'm shy, she whispered back. You're a model, I said. Pretend I'm your audience. Anok smiled with her dazzling white teeth. You are much more beautiful than my usual crowd, she said, but she allowed me to push her back slightly so that I could look at her completely. It was hard for me to breathe. She was painfully thin, sure, but it was Anok. She couldn't be anyone else. The muscles were visible under the skin, but that rich mahogany skin, her small breasts, broad shoulders, and just her very essence. Slender belly, piercing in the navel, graceful body lines. Anok was perfect. She stepped towards me and took off my robe. Her warm and dry hands slid over my skin, gently touching my chest. I shuddered, and she laughed quietly. Her body was like a living work of art, a wet doll that came to life before my eyes. They washed themselves, touched each other, explored every line and curve of each other's body. Everything happened slowly, as if time had stopped. I felt her soft skin under my fingers, her light breath next to my ear. Water flowed around us, but this was not just a shower. It was something more, an almost spiritual experience, an immersion in intimacy that went beyond ordinary touch. She said that she doesn't like labels, and I understood her perfectly, believe me. I haven't been celibate since my marriage failed. I've had lovers, men and women, and I've learned a lot about myself. I love beautiful things. Handsome men, beautiful women, what's the difference? They are beautiful, And I don't just mean external beauty. Some people become beautiful because what is inside shines through them. Anok was like that in everything. She knew it, but she didn't play. She was just being herself, and she was beautiful, almost unreal, but all Anok. Loving her, and anyone who did not include an element of love in the experience with this ebony angel was definitely something wrong, was something like a long, slow climb into passion from which you would never recover. When she cried as she left the next day, I knew she felt it too. Kavana, can I call you, meet you again, come here? She asked. Anok, I will spend time with you whenever I can, I told her. But I must say, me and the girls, live in Tuvalu. We spend most of our time there. I haven't heard of this place, she replied. Is it far? Very, I said. This is an island in the Pacific Ocean. Do you want to come visit us? I would really like to, she said. I have an assignment for 5 days in New York, and then a break. We'll still be here, I answered. Call at any time. She left with the taste of her lips still on mine, and I thought how much my life had changed in the last week. First Wilson, then Anok. This required reflection and internal analysis. My date with Wilson was amazing. The girls adored him, they argued and bickered with him over the rules of the game, and he answered them in kind, and they were merciless. It seemed more like they were on a date than me, but that was what I wanted. When a person feels comfortable, he tends to show his true colors. Wilson's features seemed to be pure gold. He asked me for a second date, and Friday became his night to entertain the girls and me. He turned out to be very skillful. I quickly fell in love with this big, handsome, funny, kind man. It was difficult for me to understand my feelings because there was also Anok. I stayed longer than planned, but what was happening in my life was exciting. The girls didn't complain, and I just rode the wave. Anok spent an incredible amount of time with me. Bianca and Monica idolized her, and she was as kind and caring to them as she was to everyone else. She took them to work with her, they went shopping every day, and she spoiled them. She also spoiled me, and I found myself in a dilemma. I loved Anok, and I loved Wilson. I kept them apart, but I needed to find a way out. I didn't know how, but I had to find a way. I started by talking with Anok. We lay by the pool on mats, just enjoying the sun. She was covered in oil, and drops of water rolled down her shining ebony body. God, you're stunningly beautiful, honey, I said. She giggled. I know, but everyone is looking at you. I have bigger breasts, I said, cupping my breasts and bouncing them. Yes. Her soft hand wrapped around one of them, and she playfully tugged at the piercing. Anok, can I ask you something serious? I asked. She turned me over on my back and lay half on top of me, putting her head between my breasts and looking at me with her huge dark eyes. Yes, if I can, I'll answer, she said. Okay, here's a question. Who are we to each other, Anok? Well, lovers, yes, friends, and what else? She fell silent for a moment. I want there to be more, she finally said. I want to be with you always. You mean, like in marriage? I asked. I don't care, she said. I don't need permission to love you. We never talked about this, I reminded. Do you want everything to be exclusive? If that's what you want, she replied. Do I need to be exclusive in order to love you? I think not. And yet I'm not interested in anyone but you. Do you want to be exclusive? Well, that's how I lived, I said. But I'm dating a guy. I really like him, Anok. I think I want to sleep with him, build a relationship with him. But I don't want to leave you, under no circumstances. I just need to know what you think. Her incredibly long eyelashes descended onto those dark lakes and then dug into my heart again. Is he hot? She asked. I laughed. I should have guessed. Yes, he's handsome. Like you, but a man. Do you know what the guys look like on the covers of cheap romance novels? This is him. She purred. Can I sleep with him too? Would you like to? Maybe, she said, if he's a hot and cool guy. I know he's special, otherwise you wouldn't be interested in him. Will you introduce me to him? I'll introduce you, but this is not quite what I thought. What were you thinking about? She asked. I was thinking about talking to him the same way I talk to you, I said. Perhaps it's even better this way. You won't take him away from me, right? She looked shocked. No, I would never. I was joking, honey. I know you're not like that. As if I could, she said. I bet. God, Anak, you can get anyone. I mostly only want you, but I'll give your romantic model a chance. I like Dick, she admitted. I slapped her firm little ass. I have a whole collection. Choose any at any time. She squealed in mock outrage, and I rolled over on top of her, pinning her to the mat. She was strong, but I was stronger and heavier. Soon she stopped resisting, and we made love under the sun. I was completely exhausted, trying to recover my mind, which had scattered to all corners of the universe. Not to mention, there wasn't a single bone left in my body, and I couldn't move. Anak pressed herself to my ear. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. "Are you sure you want to do this, honey?" I asked. "No, I'm not entirely sure," she whispered. "I need to meet him. If he's half as good as you describe him, then yes, I'm all for it. We assume he won't run away as soon as he sees us." She laughed. "He's a man. If we want him, he is ours. Oh, by the way, he's, white, honey." Oh, God. She was a little surprised, and then she made us both laugh until we cried. Do you think it will be erased? I didn't know where this would lead, but I would soon find out. I had to think things through carefully, but I thought I had it all sorted out. I invited Wilson to dinner. He agreed, and I asked if he would mind if I called a third person. "Do you mean one of the girls or the man?" he asked. "A girl, not one of the girls, and she is definitely not a man." "Who is she?" His curiosity simply tore him apart. "You will find out at the restaurant. Be charming to the extreme, okay? She's my best friend. That's all I'll tell you." "Prince Charming is me," he said. "Should I mention how charming I am?" "Well, so that she notices, you know." I laughed. "You're an idiot, Wilson. Never change." My wardrobes were big. Seriously, I was pretty good at maintaining order in mine, but Anak was on a completely different level. She filled mine, the one in the hallway, and another one in the guest bedroom. Even though she spent a lot of time on the road and had an apartment in London, every time she came to see me, she brought one bag after another with her. She always looked cool, but when she came downstairs for our date of destiny, she was absolutely stunning. An off-the-shoulder leopard top showing off her belly and the tiniest gold skirt I'd ever seen. Miles of smooth ebony skin were exposed, and it seemed that just a little more and the skirt would show more than it needed to. It would have looked tacky on most women, but Anak was the epitome of elegance and class. She looked like the queen that she was. She beamed when she saw me and made me spin around to look at everything. I was sure that Wilson would be shocked, and I was not mistaken. He was sitting at the bar, looking gorgeous as usual. There is something special about men's long, curly hair. He could almost match me, although my hair was longer and reached all the way to my butt when straightened. He was watching hockey on the TV above the bar, and I snuck up behind him, wrapping my arms around his back. He shuddered slightly until I whispered in his ear, "How are you, bro?" His face lit up with that dazzling smile. "Hi, Kay," he said without turning around. As always, fashionably late. He turned around in his chair and froze. I was dying of laughter inside. "Kavana, is this?" His brain froze. This is the friend you wanted to introduce me to." "Bingo," I said. "Damn, you're so smart, dude." Anak extended one of her slender hands, and he took it. "I am Anak," she said. "You're Wilson, and I'm very pleased to meet you. Kavana has talked a lot about you." "I know who you are," he said. Anak's dark eyes flashed and shone. She liked him. I understood that. "Who am I?" she asked. "Tai Anak Dow, model." "You see, honey, you are famous," I said. We stood up, and our host led us to the table. "Does Wilson follow fashion?" I asked. "Ha, no, but I went grocery shopping, and Anak was on the cover of one of the magazines with a selection of 25 most beautiful women in the world. No one will forget this face. Why didn't you ever tell me about this? I asked her. It's both unimportant and awkward, she said. Wilson laughed. I don't think that's true, but I like your attitude towards it. She definitely liked him. We plunged into a casual conversation, and I watched these two people, whom I suddenly realized that I loved very much. It's funny, you just live your life, enjoy it, don't plan to change anything, and suddenly such people come into your life, and you think, this one, I want to live my life with this. And then the second one appears, and everything becomes complicated. What are your plans, Kay? He asked when we finished dinner. Well, the girls are now in Canada with their uncle. I was hoping we would come back to my house, I said. I have good weed, great wine, snacks, no queues for the toilet, music, and a bunch of streaming services. It sounds like a party, but I have plans, he said. Anok and I stared at him in shock, and he burst out laughing. I was just kidding you, he said. Am I crazy? I can spend time not with one of the most beautiful women in the world, but with two at once. Stop flattering us, please. It's time to get out of here. He arrived in an Uber, and we put him in the back seat of my Chevrolet. It was incredibly funny to watch this big guy try to fold himself into this small space. He moaned and complained, and we laughed. Why didn't you take the Mercedes, knowing that there were three of us? He grumbled. Hell, I could take my truck. Oh, I admire men with trucks, Anok said. Why do you have a truck, Wilson? I like trucks, he replied. Besides, I use it for work, and there's no point in having a car that won't fit anything. I see, she said. Wilson is a truck driver. She gave me a mocking look, and he laughed. I'm actually an electrician, he said. He fixes the street lamps, I interjected. But he's very good at it. Anok, have you ever wanted to climb an electric pole with those spikes on your boots? Wilson will help us out. He laughed. It's going to be a nightmare for the insurance company if you fall, but yes, I'll show you. Anok, do you also like the idea of climbing pillars like Kavanagh? She shook her head. No, I'm afraid of heights. Although, to be honest, I don't like heights either, but I still want to try. We never got to see the movie. Well, the movie was turned on, but we didn't watch it. We climbed onto my couch, put our feet up, I pulled out my bong, and we each smoked 2 bowls of garlic butter. It didn't taste like garlic butter, but after the first bowl, no one cared. We hugged, whispered, laughed, and got hungry. I made us each a grilled cheese sandwich, and they said it was the best thing they had ever eaten. According to Anok, grilled cheese was the secret to life. We returned to the couch, and she and I began touching Wilson, not overtly sexually, just very tactilely, admiring this huge man, stroking him tenderly as he lazily played with our hair, his eyes half closed, with his arms around us both. I caught Anok's gaze and asked her a question with my eyes. She nodded and began to unbutton his shirt. Anok, Kavanagh, what? Hush. I put my finger to his lips. Let us talk. He nodded. I met Anok the night you fixed my light, I began. Anyway, I met both of you. Is it true? You have to listen, I told him. He made a gesture as if he was zipping up his lips. You're my boyfriend, Wilson. You know that, right? He pretended to unzip his zipper, and we all burst out laughing. When we could breathe again, he said, I hope so, Kay. I want to be your boyfriend. What about Anok? She's my girlfriend, I said. I'll share her with you if you share me with her. He looked at Anok. Anok, I love Kavanagh, she said. We still haven't made any commitments. I have an idea. Let's just have fun, spend time together, maybe fall in love, and then we'll see what happens. Okay, no normal man would say no to either of you, let alone both of you. I'm out of my mind, but... She interrupted him with a kiss that felt like it was taking his soul. I knew this feeling I lost my soul because of her a few months ago. It made me incredibly want both. I stuck my face towards them, and they noticed me. When their eyes met mine, not only a passionate fire burned in them, but also something else. When they looked at me, I saw love. It was like those TikTok videos, before my girlfriend looked at me and after. They began to shine in a new way, and I realized that they saw the same in me. I've wanted to sleep with Wilson for a long time, but the moment was never right. Some of us need to feel something like, now is the time. When your relationship reaches a certain stage, you just know. This occasion was special because Anak was a part of it all. I didn't know what it would be, but I knew one thing. It would be something very good. They danced there, Anak and Wilson. The party was in full swing. My new son-in-law sat on one side of me and my father on the other. Bianca returned from somewhere, accepted congratulations, probably, and pulled Matt to dance. She invited her father and Blake came to the wedding. I wasn't forced to talk to him, and that suited me completely. The father led the bride to the altar. Bianca and Blake didn't have that kind of relationship. She was polite to him, but that's all. Monica sometimes communicated with him, but they were satisfied that their father showed little interest in them, and they even demanded it. My father hugged me. "Are you happy, baby?" I pressed myself close to him. "Oh, yes. We all love Matt, and he makes my girl happy." "And I'm glad," he said. "Do your partners make you happy?" "I'm happy with them, if that's what you mean," I said. "They don't make me happy. I'm happy on my own. When I'm with them, we're happy together." "Got it," he said. "Have you ever thought about marrying one of them?" He nodded at Anak and Wilson. I laughed. "No. For what? We are together. I've already tried it. It didn't mean anything to anyone but me. Blake, his lovers, the rest of the world, they didn't care that we were married. I was the only one who was worried, and now I don't care what they think, since this matters only for me. For the three of us, we are together, in sorrow and in joy. Call it what you want. We don't care." He nodded. He nodded. "Yes, you really got it then." "Yes, but it's not only that. I like my life. They like my life and their own. If I want to change something, I will do it. Maybe they'll want to change something. We're just living, Dad, enjoying life. It's a great feeling. And don't touch this piece of cake. I'm watching you." He laughed. "Yes, I know. I always knew." Subscribe to our channel so that your love doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think. Click to the next one. 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 Click to the